So, guys, good evening. Thank you very much for coming to live. Um, Today is the 27th of November, the year 2027, and we are going to have a topic today where we are going to talk about zero-based budgeting and how you can live debt-free. So it's quite been a while since we had our other topics. Karibuni sana to your top number one financial coach. So this week and maybe for the past 2 or 3 weeks I've been learning about zero-based budgeting, and it's a powerful tool where each of your dollar or every single coin of your income, whether from business or employment, is tied or assigned to a specific job or task, which can either be spending, saving, or maybe debt replacement, until your income less your expenses amounts to zero. So that is what we call a zero base at the end of each month. So in comparison to this, as we proceed on how to live a life that you're debt free, we have different concepts that we learn from this approach. And before I talk about that, I would wish to talk about concepts which I learned from Dave Ramsey, which revolve around changing our behavior, personal behavior and mindset about money, through structured step-by-step approaches, which I called in my last video the baby steps, that give priority to debt elimination, how to create an emergency fund, and maybe build medium and long-term investment options. So we also talked about maybe multiple sources of income, which we are not going to repeat today. And there are also various concepts that are critical to understand about debt. So in today's video, we're going to talk about maybe some of the core principles or the philosophies which form the fundamental principles that challenge the conventional financial wisdom that we apply in our day-to-day activities. So debt is both positive and negative, but for you to remain debt free, you have to view debt as your enemy. By living a completely debt free lifestyle, because debt in its own way can make you live in a financial bondage, and it can also attract out of interest. So the much that you do to avoid debt, credit cards, car loans, or maybe relying on cash or debit for making purchases, especially for this period, then once you view debt as your enemy, you're in the right step. So we also need to understand another core principle, which is understanding behavior, personal behavior over months. Money management is more of personal behavior in comparison to your knowledge. Personal behavior advocates on it can also build motivation or discipline. And if you have positive behavior towards management of debt, then you might save completely more money, whether from business or from employment. So for you to manage debt, there's also a core principle, which means that you can also try to live below your means, which is the foundation rule to spend less than what you earn for you to build wealth. This is not easy as it sounds, but it requires a lot of discipline and avoiding the temptation to keep up with with the other guys or maybe your colleagues, your friends, etc. For you to live a debt-free life, you also need to apply the principle of budgeting. In this case, for you, you need to advocate and promote zero-based budgeting, where each single dollar of your income is accounted for by assigning it to a purpose. So when I talk about purpose, I mean you can spend, you can save, or maybe you can also donate to other people. On paper, before your month begins. In this case, you know where your coin will fall to. I've talked about giving. Giving can also form part of charity, and it also means accounting for your money. So, let me touch on a few steps that are explained in one of the books by Dave Ramsey. That if you want to focus on wealth building, you can save for an emergency fund, which prevents you from going to debt or maybe going to bad debts if you experience unexpected outcomes or maybe incidents. You can also use maybe learn to be paying off your debts, where you can list non-mortgage debts, non-long-term debts, but you pay the minimum payments um, in due time. So another thing is that you can also try to save maybe 3 to 6 months of your expenses in a fully set up emergency fund. So this one shifts your mindset from being an emergency fund to another one that can cover you in case of a job loss or maybe a huge medical issue, unforeseen events like COVID, etc. It's also good to invest maybe a smaller percentage, let's say 10 to 15, 10 to 20% of your household income towards retirement, because by investing in this one is often underlooked. But if you have this emergency fund in place, and maybe you begin to invest consistently until retirement, you can create some maybe kind of mutual funds which can aid you in your later days. It's also good to maybe invest and save early for your children's college fund, because these ones have the advantage of tax, just like other plans, which is good. And also something else, for you to live a debt-free lifestyle is that you need to pay your home mortgage very early. You pay your car loan very early. So these ones will lead you to a completely debt-free lifestyle and allow you to build significant wealth in future. So if you apply the concept of zero-based budgeting, where each of the dollar that you earn is assigned to a certain activity, you understand that you have a clear picture of where your money goes, rather than doing after maybe after calculations to understand where you spent your money. So it also avoids the concept of carryovers, where maybe in the traditional budgeting, expenses often increase depending on a period. But for this approach, that we call zero-based budgeting requires you to justify a new expense every time that you are budgeting for it. So in such cases, it prevents outdated or unnecessary costs, maybe unused subscriptions, maybe unpaid um, phonetic bills, um, extravagant internet packages, etc. And also, it allows you to maybe to have a concept of your income less the expenses, where if you have maybe more income and less expenses, and if your equation doesn't balance, then you have to maybe take that one into a savings account which can help you in future. So it's also flexible and adaptable because zero-based budgeting is highly flexible because it gives you a clear plan on how you're planning for your things. Also allows you to categorize the amount or maybe the level of investments that you are making based on the amount of money that you're getting in that month or maybe for a certain period. So I don't want to talk much maybe how you can implement zero-based budgeting. Maybe you can create an Excel sheet, list all your total income, maybe from employment, from business, maybe for a certain period. Let's talk about a month. Then you list your expenses and your spending. So these ones can include maybe your fixed costs like mortgage, rent, insurance costs, maybe other utilities like power or maybe water bills, and maybe which are normally fixed costs. It can also include a section where you have maybe the variable costs like groceries, maybe gas or petrol, your entertainment costs, your short-term savings, your goals, and maybe your debt payments. So by categorizing these expenses, you're able to understand how much do I spend in one particular month, how much if I go beyond, how much money do I spend towards my expenses versus my total income. Then the other step is subtracting your expenses from the income that you get. But if you get that the result is not zero, you need to adjust your spending categories. But if you have a surplus, you can assign the extra amount of money that you're getting to your savings, to your maybe short term or long term investments, or maybe towards paying debts. But if you understand that you have a deficit, which means that your expenses are more than your income, then it's essential and very essential to trim this non-essential spending towards a level in which your income equals your expenses. And when I talk about expenses, it also includes the level of both the short-term and long-term investments. The other step is tracking your spending because for you to have zero-based budgeting, you need to consistently track your actual spending against your planned budget. Um, this one allows you to stick to your plan and make real-time adjustments as and when you're needed to. You can also try repeating this one monthly because it's not a one-time event. At the start of every month, you can create this one because first it helps you to have control and to have control over your funds. and it also gives you a clear plan to stick to so that you can understand your entire cash flow and understand where your money is going. It also eliminates or prevents you from having wasteful spending. Because this one I can helps you to identify and cut costs that do not align with your financial goals. And also it's a motivator because it allows you to have that strategic thinking feel by giving you the motivation that your resources are directed towards high priority initiatives and both long term, short term, and medium term investment options. So it boosts accountability. So thank you guys for coming, maybe for being with me in this life where we've learned about zero-based budgeting. It's something that I've implemented, and for sure, this one works. So karibuni sana, Elijah Wanjoy. Continue subscribing to my channel. Continue viewing. If you have any comments, any concerns about financial management, managing your expenses, managing your finances, managing your incomes, feel free to contact me and also collaborate in our maybe live chat. Thank you guys.